Hi, I'm Lance Hendricks, and you're watching Brian Lomax's Movie Talk.
The director, Renny Harlin, picks up where John McClane left off, and I think some people may wish he hadn't bothered, but let's find out. Die Hard 2, Die Harder. This film, I think, feels a little bit more Christmassy than the first one does, because we get snow, which always helps. You know, we still get the Christmas trees right off the bat. The opening of this film, we see a lot of people with their Christmas bags and, you know, holding presents, walking along, you know, trying to get to their airplane with all their Christmas stuff ready for the holidays. We see a big Christmas tree. So yeah, we're definitely in Christmas town for this one. But is it any good? That's the question. Now, when I watched this as a kid, as a young boy, I really liked this. I probably and rather stupidly put it on a par with the first one. You know, you have a tendency to think stupidly when you're a child, and then you grow up and you realise, what the hell was I thinking? Because Die Hard is an absolute classic. This isn't a bad film, but it just certainly doesn't live up to the first one. What is missing from this is all of the character-driven stuff from the first one. This is all nods and winks and, you know, didn't we do that in the first film? Let's do it again kind of stuff. So we don't really get an arc for John McClane, certainly not a clear one. You know, he has to rescue his wife, essentially, from this plane. She has to do circles while these terrorists are holding this airport to ransom, so to speak. So yeah, you know, her plane's running out of fuel, so he's got to save her. He's got to find some way to bring her down safely. That's it, though. There's no really big kind of character arc, no character change. Like in the first film, he had this whole thing where he realised that actually maybe he hadn't been treating his wife as well as he should, so he had a change of heart. He realised he had to do better. We don't get that here, and because of his heroics in the first film, he's kind of almost put on a superhero level in this one. So he does things in this film that, even by the first film standards, are a little bit out there, a little bit over the top. It must be said as well that the villains in this film, we get three. We get this general, and then we get like two that are kind of under him who are trying to get him out, trying to free him. They're not that interesting. There's certainly no Hans Gruber, put it that way. Hans Gruber had charm, he had style, he had a little bit of wit. There was just something about that performance by Alan Rickman that none of the villains in this film can even come close to. We also get this janitor character who's kind of filling in the role of Argyle from the first film. But whereas Argyle was kind of charming in his own way and quite funny at times, this guy just isn't. There's no real likability there for his character. Yeah, he helps John McClane out, but he's just a little bit too off-kilter, a little bit too weird to be likeable, really. We also get this character played by Dennis Franz. He's this cop, this airport cop, and he has a beef with John McClane right from the start. He doesn't show him any respect, and he's always trying to prove that he's basically just an idiot, that he doesn't know what he's doing. And yeah, okay, that works for like the first 20 minutes or so. But when you get halfway through the film and John McClane has proven time and time again that he's right, it gets a little bit old. It gets annoying. You know, this guy changes his view right at the end of the film, but it's not soon enough. It's too much, and it's full on all the way through the film. And I gotta say, it does get a bit annoying. The inclusion of Dick, the news reporter from the first film as well, while it's mildly amusing, it does feel forced. It really feels hemmed in. Like, how many ways can we find to get all the different characters from the first film in here? While he was a minor character in the first one, I don't really feel like he warranted a return. You know, it gives Holly something to do on the plane, I guess, but overall, yeah, it just feels a bit forced. I kind of feel like this is the reason that Bonnie Bedelia maybe didn't come back for any previous films, because her part in this is clearly written for the sake of being there. You know, she needs to be the person that John has to save, so they had to beef this part up just to give her something to do, I guess. But yeah, all feels a bit forced. In the action stakes, we do get a lot of it. You know, there's a lot of action in this film, a lot of fight scenes, a lot of explosions, and it's all very entertaining. You know, it's as much as the villains and the story in this isn't as good as the first film, we do still get nice kind of action scenes, and the story is enough to prop them up. It's still a very entertaining film, and if it hadn't have come off the back of that original classic, that first Die Hard film, then this would, I guess, be a much, much better film for it. But unfortunately, it does. You have to measure it by the standard of the first one. But I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I still think it's a solid action film. It's just missing that character development and that really intriguing story that we had in the first one. So if you've seen Die Hard 2 and Die Harder, how do you think it ranks with the first film? Please comment below, let me know, and until tomorrow, thanks for watching.